TH. I cannot believe that Equinus Poketo videos were my friends. Chase got grounded over sending people a grounded threat just because they are singing Indian/Bollywood songs. That videos was even worse than Tanduma's videos where Lenji speaking Chinese to his dad and got grounded for it. Even worse. After Equin's GoobTube's community post about why the food reductions is getting worse, Equin is now using his female form again. How protect the GoobTube before making his community post about the food reductions? I like the food reductions in the Go Anime universe more than in Indian culture in the Go Anime universe. What should I for him for using his female form again after he sees GoobTube's videos about the food reduction is getting out of hand? I have an idea. Since Equin made a videos where Chase grounded someone just because people were singing and dancing to the Indian songs, he got grounded for it, and seeing GoobTube's community post about the food reduction in the Go Animators getting out of hand, and Equin are using his female form again thanks to GoobTube 6. I will beat up Equin at Fireball Girl 7297, aka Equin the Game House PC Boy 2000's female form arbiter, but I will using my Shadow Clone Jutsu technique first before I beating Equin's female form up.
Well, the reason why I am changed my female form outfit avatar to my female form Super Bowl 56 avatar is because 4 days left until Super Bowl 56 started. I am so excited for Super Bowl 56 to be started. Also, I'm using the female form in this videos. Because why not? Plus GoobTube made a good point about the freedom reductions is getting out of hand. Ugh. Here we go again with the Dixon triplets. This time with Brick. What do you want, huh?
Hey you Equin in your female form, aka Equin the Fireball Girl 7297. I have to talk about you for using the female form again.
What are you want to talk me about? Are you about going to sexual harassing me just because I'm using the female form again after I saw GoobTube's community post about the freedom reductions?
Nope. I'm not going to sexual harassing you over you're using your female form again after you saw GoobTube's community post about the freedom reduction, but not including the which thing is your birthday post/videos.
Phew. Thank goodness Brick from the Dixon triplets isn't going to sexual harassing me just because I'm using the female form again. But still. Are you going to talk about why I'm using the female form again?
Well Equin the Freeball Girl 7297, aka Equin's female form. First of all, why are you changing your avatar to your Super Bowl 56 avatar? Second of all, why would you using the female form again on your videos?
Well, first of all, the reason why I'm changing my avatar into my Super Bowl 56 avatar is because of it is 4 days left until Super Bowl 56. And second of all, I'm using the female form again after I saw GoobTube's community post about the freedom reduction. That post doesn't includes the, which thing is your birthday post/trends.
Alright then. I am now understand and answered my questions about why you're changing your female form avatar into your Super Bowl 56 avatar, and you're using your female form avatar again. And by the way, I will beat you up for using your female form avatar again after you saw about GoobTube's community post about the freedom reductions. Except for the, which thing is your birthday post/videos.
Huh? You want to beat me up just because I'm using the female form avatar again? Ha 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 ha. That was so funny of you to saying that.
Stop laughing at me. It is not funny at all. Plus, I will using my shadow clone technique first before I beat you up.
What? Brick has the clones now? Uh-oh. I guess he's going to beat me up just over. I am using the female form again and made a videos where Chase grounding someone over people singing the Indian songs with an invalid reason and got grounded for it.
Yup. That's right. Me and my clones are going to beat you up for Chase's revenge.
Oh shoot. I will be very hurt when Brick beat me up with his shadow clone jutsu technique.
Good. This is what you get for making wave videos where my friends Chase sending people grounded threats over people singing / dancing to the Indian songs with a invalid reason and got grounded for it. When I'm hate the Indian songs so much due to you and Rangwa made the worthless air outfit idea popular instead of making users trusting ins in animate. And this is also what you get for seeing GoobTube's worthless community post about why the freedom reductions is getting out of hand, and you're using the female form avatar again because of that. Plus, my friend's Chase doesn't deserve to be grounded for sending people grounded threats over people singing / dancing to the Indian songs. Stay on the ground. A loser's female form auditor.
Cherry Girl, Hannah Smith, and Abby's. Can you come over here please?
Oh my goodness. Iquin the Fireball Girl 7297, aka Iquin's female form version. What happened?
Equin the Fireball Girl 7297, aka Equin's female form version. Are you okay?
No, Hannah Smith, aka Landon's OC characters. I'm not okay. Why? Because of Brick from the Dixon triplets just beat me up for making a videos where Chase sending people grounded threats over people singing / dancing to the Indian songs and got grounded for it. And not to mention that he also beat me up by using his shadow clone technique for Chase's revenge, and using the female form version avatar again after I saw GoobTube's community post about the freedom reduction is getting out of hand.
Shoot. I'm so busted right now.
Brick from the Dixon triplets. Did you just beaten up Equin in his female form just because he makes the videos where your friends Chase sending people grounded threats over people singing / dancing to the Indian / Bollywood songs? Is this true?
Don't lie to three of us.
To be completely honest. Yes. The reason why I'm beaten up Iquin the Fireball Girl 7297, aka Iquin's female form version avatar is because Iquin making a videos where my friends Chase sending people grounded threats over people singing / dancing to the Indian songs a few days ago, and not to mention that Iquin already seeing GoobTube's worthless community post about why the freedom reduction is getting out of hand. That is not included the which thing is your birthday posts / videos. And using his female form again after he saw that worthless community post. And he, along with StarJesus and Roychild Hiri, was the one who made the worthless air outfit idea popular on the Go Animate videos instead of making users trusting ins in animate. I'm so sorry gals.
My goodness. Brick. Are you serious? How dare you beat up Equin's female form version, aka Equin the Fireball Girl 7297 for making a videos where your friends Chase grounding someone over people singing the Indian songs, and got grounded for it. Plus, Equin, StarJesus and Roy Chowdhury didn't do anything wrong when three of them made the sari outfit idea popular instead of making innocent users trusting Zins and animate. Besides, three of them have the rights to make the sari outfit idea popular in Equin's channel instead of making users trusting Zins and animate. And Equin also has the rights to use his female form avatar whatever the hell he wants to. You know what, Brick from the Dixon triplets? I'm calling your parents about this.
Seriously, Brick. How could you use your shadow clone technique to beat up IKHW and the Game House PC Boy 2000 in this female form version avatar just because a few days ago IKHWN makes the videos where your crew friends chase sending people grounded threats over people singing dancing to the Indian songs with an invalid reason and got grounded for it. Also, why would you using your shadow clone technique to beaten up IKHWN's female form version avatar just because IKHWN using the female form again after he saw GoodTube's community post about why the freedom reductions is getting out of hand, except for, which thing is your birthday post videos. You know that IKHWN can makes to a thing that I have mentioned whatever the hell IKHWN wanted to. And you're not the boss of IKHWN. For this, you're grounded until Valentine's Day. Go upstairs to your room right now and think about what you've did for today.